Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be looking at a band called Alia Tempora. Now, never heard of them before. Initially when I read the band's name I thought it was going to be a solo artist, but apparently it is not. Now I did a bit of research into this band because never heard of them before. There isn't really very much to tell you. What I found is Alia Tempora is a modern metal band from the Czech Republic formed in 2012. They have a strong influence of pop, dance and dubstep music. The band is characterised by its emphasis on modern prismatic image, whatever that means, catchy music, captivating show and a fan-friendly attitude. Touring in Europe and South America and being very active on social media, Alia Tempora has become internationally known by tens of thousands of fans. Leading vocalist Marki Moravkova, probably pronounced it horribly wrong, is the daughter of Milos Moravec, the guitarist of bands Progress 2, Futurum, Kern and Syncope, none of which I am familiar with. That's really all I have for you there. So, you know, I'm not familiar with any of the names that have come up in that, but modern metal with influences of pop, dance and dubstep, so that's going to be quite interesting, I think. Now, we're going to be looking at a track today called Humanity, which was suggested to me a short while back. I have some lyrics up here. I'm not sure how accurate they are, because the website I've found has in the past let me down, but all of the versions of the lyrics I've found so far seem to be pretty similar. But like I said, I can't guarantee they'll be 100% accurate. But anyway, we'll jump into this track. I'm very curious to see what it is, given the description of the band. So, yes, Alia Tempora, Humanity. Let's have a look and see what we get.
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.
Greed can poison men, eradicate and cold my pain, until the pieces of humanity will just drift away. We have developed speed, put it in steel and point to us. Flesh in front of the steel, the same behind the steel, turn into dust. No
Machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts.
We are on mission men, mission hearts and mission minds. Following the lines, we are breathing men. It's but in our hands what's falling there. We are not one man, not a group of men. We are all men. Together we stand. Let us all find out we can rebel and rule men. Rule us, we have lost the way out. Live our lives free and beautiful. Tearing ourselves to pieces. Living lies, with lies and
Well, there we go. That was Alia Tempora, Humanity. And it's very, very interesting. I actually really like that. That woman has a fantastic voice. Now, when the song opened up, there was some spoken word. And I recognised it immediately. And like I said, the opening to the song, and actually throughout the song, there are quotes from this this speech that's given. And the speech is actually from The Great Dictator by Charlie Chaplin. So that's quite interesting that they've used that. And some of the actual lyrics in the song itself are lifted directly from that speech as well. Not like verbatim, but the lyrics of the song are definitely inspired by some of the lines said throughout that speech. And the song opens up, like I said, with that speech from Charlie Chaplin. It says, "To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but a passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. So long as men die, liberty will never perish."
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.
Then it goes into that song. "Greed can poison men, eradicate them, cover world by pain, until the pieces of humanity will just drift away. We have developed speed, put it in steel and pointed to us, flesh in front of the steel. The same behind the steel, turning to dust no matter sides." Then it goes back into the speech from Charlie Chaplin. Says, "The machine hearts, you are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts." Now that bit is normally a lot longer, where he's talking about machine hearts and machine minds, and how essentially soldiers are forced to behave like machines, following orders blindly. And given that speech and the way the song has gone so far, it's kind of talking about the way of the world at the moment. The way soldiers are forced to blindly carry out these orders by the higher powers who are too cowardly, hiding in their ivory towers, getting everybody else to do their dirty work for them. And the song carries on. "We are not machine men with machine hearts and machine minds, following the lines. We are breathing men. It's blood in our hands that's floating there. We are not one man, not a group of men. We are all men. Together we stand. Others will find out they can't rule by lie. Rule men, rule us. But we have lost the way how to live our lives free and beautiful, tearing ourselves to pieces. We live in lies, we create lies and believe them. We believe them. We are not machine men with machine hearts and machine minds, following the rules. We are breathing men. It's in our hand. It's blood in our hands that's floating there." So, it's very much talking about the way that these higher powers, as they were, essentially try to control our lives, tell us how to live our lives, and basically forcing us to follow their orders. And there's no, it's like they're trying to take away our free will, basically, and we're losing our humanity by following these rules. And again, with soldiers as well, they're losing their humanity by being told to blindly go into countries and murder hundreds and thousands of people for no reason other than the boss saying, "I told you to." So it's quite a powerful song, and the fact that they've used that speech from The Great Dictator from that Charlie Chaplin film is quite brilliant, really, because it is considered one of the best speeches in movies of all time, and it is a very, very powerful speech. So yeah, it's quite interesting. It carries on. We are not one man, not a group of men. We are all men. Together we stand. Others will find they can't rule by lie, rule men. But we have lost the way how to live our lives free and beautiful. Tearing ourselves to pieces, we live in lies. We create lies. We believe them. Believe them. Can you hear me wherever you are? We are coming out of the darkness into a new world. So we have lost the way. So we have lost the way how to live our lives free and beautiful, tearing ourselves to pieces. We live in lies, we create lies, and believe them. Believe them. But they lie. They do not fulfill their promise. They never will. And you know, there's bits, like I say, of the Great Dictator speech interspersed throughout this actual song, and I can't remember if this piece itself is from the thing. It says, dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, hate, and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world with science and progress, soldiers. In the name of democracy, let us all unite. You know, and it's very, very powerful. It says, dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. So, you know, dictators think they're above everybody else. You know, they can do whatever they want. They essentially have free reign over the world as they see it. But whilst they themselves are essentially free, they are enslaving and controlling the people, you know, so they have power over everything they lay their eyes on, essentially. And he's basically saying, you know, we've got to fight against that. We need to live free. We need our freedom. We are entitled to freedom. No one should have to blindly and mindlessly follow a set of arbitrary rules set out by one person who wants everything. You know, these people that are telling us how to live our lives are fueled by greed, by their own wants, by, you know, they don't care about what the population at large wants. They're just doing what they want. You know, there are certain people in seats of power at the moment who shall remain nameless, but I think we all know who we're talking about, who literally are just running their countries by their own personal agenda. You know, they don't care about what the population at large wants or needs. And instead they hide behind their seats of power, you know, and as soon as anything contradicts what they want, they run and hide. You know, but they will still sit there, tell everybody how to live their lives. You know, do as I tell you, or you're going to get thrown in prison, or you're going to get shot at, or what have you. You know, they're trying to control the world through fear. And there's something we need to change. We need to fight against that, you know. And there's just a wonderful line there, which I think is fantastic and is very, very relevant right now. And it says, let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed and hate and intolerance. And that is just such a powerful, powerful statement, because it's something that needs to happen at the moment. Yeah, especially at this moment, at this very point in time. It's actually pretty coincidental that I actually happened to choose this song, but it just came up on my list for today. You know, and it's very relevant because at the moment the world has gone insane. You know, we've got a massive peak in racism at the moment, which is unbelievable. You know, we've got all these people, like, who are against, like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word I'm looking for. You know, refugees coming in from other countries. People are refusing them. You know, they're trying to escape their war-torn land. And the thing is, these refugees that are coming in wouldn't have to flee their country if these people of power weren't sending soldiers into that country to kill millions of innocent people for no other reason than greed. You know, So they're going in to destroy the country, but they're not helping the people that actually need help, the innocent victims of that country. You know, so... And again, it's all fueled by greed, by hate. You know, these people are feeding us lies, telling us that these people are all evil, they're all rapists, or they're all like marauders, or what have you. You know, we're being told that everybody in the country behaves that way, and it's just not true. But the thing is, there is always someone who's going to side with that person, and the lies, the hatred, the fear is always going to build and build and build as more people believe the lies. And it just fuels the fire even more and makes the situation even worse. And the same goes for like racism, you know, and you know, it's getting beyond ridiculous. I mean, it's coming to the point where like a family of colour can't sit in a park and have a picnic without some entitled white woman calling the police and complaining about it, when, you know, they're doing nothing wrong. They're living perfectly, you know, they're perfectly entitled to go to this park and have a picnic because, you know, it's a public space. They're allowed to do that. Hundreds and thousands of white families are doing it. But as soon as one family of colour sits there and do it, you know, all these entitled white people are calling the police and complaining about it. You know, and this is something that should have been left behind decades ago, but it keeps resurfacing, and it's getting worse under current government rules because they're basically actively encouraging this sort of thing. And it's, you know, this is a very powerful song. It's very important and very relevant right now. You know, wow. Normally I'd actually talk about the music and the people, but I've spent more time riffing on the actual meaning of the song. But like I said, I think it's a very, very important topic that they've covered. But, like, you know, musically, as for the band themselves, that woman has a fantastic voice. The song itself didn't really have that much of the sort of dance, techno, electronic sort of music in there. There was some, you could definitely tell there was some in there, especially towards the end of the track. And it sounded very good. It was very subtle the way they've done it. I don't know how the rest of their music might sound. I'm pretty sure I'll get people suggesting me other tracks of theirs to check out. But I actually really liked the song. You know, the performance itself, the meaning behind the song. It was very, very good. And the fact that they've chosen to use that specific speech from The Great Dictator was brilliant, because it is an incredibly powerful speech. If you ever, you know, if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend actually checking out that speech. It is a phenomenal piece of writing from a film. You know, so I'd suggest checking out that speech if you haven't checked it out, because the way it's delivered by Charlie Chaplin it's very powerful. It's very impassioned the way he does it, and you know, it might have been written for a film, but it's the way he's worded it, the way he's actually acted that speech. He's performed it with so much heart and so much passion. It's a phenomenal piece of film history. But anyway, I've been going crazy talking about this one, so I think I'll leave that as it is for now. And now, if anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so. By all means, you can drop a comment in the comments section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or even through my Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel, which would help me very, very much. There is an option on Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue, should you so desire. There are a couple of limitations on that, however, like on how frequently you can do that. And that's just to be fair to people who suggest tracks through regular means, such as YouTube comments, Facebook, and Instagram messages. You know, just to give them a fair chance to get theirs looked at as well. But you know, the option is there should you wish to get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue. And people who do suggest through those regular means do know it might take me a while to get around to your suggestion, because I do get suggested a lot of tracks every single day. So, you know, I can't really keep up and record them all straight away, but I do write down every suggestion I get, so it'll get done eventually. It just might take me a while to get around to it. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes, mainly those involving people of the alternative culture. But obviously, they would like to put an end to all hate crimes, but their main focus is these attacks on people of the alternative culture. And when I say attacks on people of the alternative culture, I'm not just talking about like insults and stuff, you know, verbal abuse thrown from afar, or, you know, people getting shoulder rammed as they walk down the street. I'm talking about actual violent physical attacks where people are getting brutally assaulted and, you know, sometimes hospitalized, you know, sometimes with broken limbs, sometimes with more life-threatening injuries, you know, just purely for the fact that they listen to alternative music or the fact that they wear alternative fashion. And it's something, it's been going on for years, it's been going on for decades. You know, it's nothing new. But the thing is, we never hear anything about it, no one ever talks about it, but it is a very real problem. You know, every day we hear about all these other sort of associated hate crimes, and I've spoken about some of them earlier on in this video, you know, where people, you know, whether it be sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, you know, religious hatred, etc. You know, we hear about these sorts of things every single day in the media, especially at the moment. There's a big influx of these at the moment, you know, and we hear about these all the time. But we don't hear anything about these people that are getting violently attacked because of their taste in music or because of the way they dress. You know, we hear about these hideously violent crimes where people are getting beaten within an inch of their life because of their taste in music, because of their, you know, religion, because of the colour of their skin, because of their sexual identity or, you know, sexual preference. You know, people are getting brutally beaten for things like that, and, you know, there's people out there getting beaten to within an inch of their lives just purely because of their taste in music, but we don't hear anything about it. The last time anything was ever actually said about this was about 13 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Maltby were violently attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people and beaten so severely that they both ended up in comas. You know, these 2 people minding their own business jumped by a group of 5 or 6 people and beaten into comas, you know. Now, Rob Maltby, he thankfully survived the attack. He was in a coma for about a week or so, I can't remember exactly how long, but he survived. Sophie Lancaster, on the other hand, was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries and she died. This young woman, she was 20 years old, was beaten to death purely for the fact that she listened to alternative music, purely for the fact that she wore alternative clothing. She was beaten to death by a group of people who basically ganged up on her. They knocked Rob Maltby out, knocked him to the ground. He was lying on the floor unconscious, and she was trying to protect him, and these 5 or 6 people punched, kicked, and stamped on her. They stamped on her head, for crying out loud. 5, 6 people ganging up on this young woman and her boyfriend just because of the music they listened to. And she died as a result. And this happened 13 years ago, and that's the last time anything like this was ever spoken about. But I know for a fact that in those 13 years since that happened, hundreds, if not thousands, of other people from the alternative community have been attacked in similar fashion. But we've not heard a single damn word about it. And that's not good enough. And why haven't we heard anything about it? It's because no one has died. And that is unacceptable. You know, it shouldn't take someone's death for a subject like this to be spoken about. I mean, we hear about all these other hate crimes on a daily basis when no one dies. So why aren't we hearing about this? Something needs to be done. You know, we shouldn't have to wait for someone to die before it gets spoken about. And this is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to bring more attention to the fact that this is happening. They want more people to start talking about this, because they don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks because of a group of small-minded idiots who can't handle the fact that everybody is an individual. Everybody has the right to be an individual. You know, and I really feel something needs to be done, because we can't allow what happened to Sophie Lancaster to happen again. It should never have happened in the first place, but we most certainly cannot allow it to ever happen again. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their main goal is, because they can explain it a hell of a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any small way, whether it's a small donation through their website or something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands, which you can get from their web store, you know, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner more people start talking about the fact that this is happening, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.